Hello and welcome to another Mathtastic video here. We are in the land of radicals and we have radical equations. Now we need to solve for our variable when there's a radical in the equation. Okay, so here's my example here. I've got square root of 3x minus 5 and it should equal 4. Okay, so things to remember when starting out with radical equations. We need to remember how we can get rid of a radical. So the square root of something, the opposite of a square root is to square something. So in order for us to get rid of this radical or this square root, we're going to have to square everything over here. And what we do to one side, we have to do it to the other side. So let's go ahead and square both sides. Okay, so if you recall, when we multiply a radical times itself, we end up with the radicand, what's left inside. So for example, if you had square root of 3 times the square root of 3, you'll have the square root of 9, which is 3. So if you notice the pattern here, we end up with just the radicand when we multiply a radical by itself. Okay, so let's go ahead and use that knowledge over here. So we're going to multiply this by itself because this exponent says write the base down 2 times and multiply it. So square root of 3x minus 5 times square root of 3x minus 5 is just the radicand. Okay, equals, let's go ahead and square this side as well. 4 squared, that's going to be 16. Okay, now look at that. We've got a regular equation that doesn't have a funky radical in it at all. So now we can solve for x. So I'm going to add 5 to both sides. That's going to be 21. And 3x equals 21. Divide both sides by 3. And we have x equals 7. Okay, so now the thing with the radical equations is that you're going to have to check this answer in the original equation to make sure it works, because the funny thing with radicals, not everything works when you work it out. Okay, so let's use x equals 7. Okay, so I'm going to plug that on in here to our original equation. So if I add the square root of 3 times 7 minus 5, it should equal 4, or at least that's what our original equation said. So we have 21 minus 5, that's the square root of 16. Is the square root of 16 4? I think so. So it works. 4 equals 4. Yay! Okay, so this is our final answer. Now, if it came out to not be true, like say it was square root of 21 should equal 4, if that's not true, this answer cannot be true. So then we have no answers, which would mean a no solution situation here. But because the answer that we got when we solved it works in itself, the original equation, we've got an answer. So that's it. X equals 7.